Princess Leia, hello, good afternoon. Can everyone hear me okay? Oh, Evelyn joined, hello. Yes, lovely. I hope everyone can hear me okay. Studio B Quilter, hello, good afternoon. Oh, yes, let me see. Can I flip this around? There we go. Hello, live. Oh, Sandra, hello. Can you guys hear me okay? Am I okay? Bacon 5864, hello. Lovely. Fabulous. Yes, hello, good afternoon, Sandra. Again, I'm Joeless today. He had to go back to work. Sound is good. Oh, perfect. Thank you for letting me know, Sandra. I was scurrying around getting ready, and I just wanted to double check I didn't have time for a sound check. So, yes. Oh, lovely. Tanya's here. Hello. Yes, lovely. So, yes, Sandra Joe had to go back into work today. Tomorrow's the big day that they're reopening the restaurant he works at. So I'm here doing this alone. So thank you for keeping me company in my sewing room today, which is wonderful. Joeless, I know. Yes, I got so used to him being here, but... knockwood, so far so good. Yes, yes, from Virginia. Hello. I hope it's a certainly lovely day. It's a little cool here, but at least the sun is starting to come out, so not so bad. And Grandma Craw. Again, I love to see the same people over and over again. It's wonderful. And for those of you who are new, hello and welcome. Again, I see by the clock on my Continental M7 that it's 1 o'clock, so I will get going, so I won't keep you. Oh, and Margaret, hello. Yes, that I won't keep you all on this beautiful Saturday, or no, whatever, Friday. Yeah, do you ever feel like you're losing track of the time? You know, what day it is? Like, oh, I can't believe it's already like almost the middle of June already. So incredible. So yes, I shall get started then. Thank you all for joining me this afternoon. My name is Michael Smith, the National Consumer Education Manager of Janome, Canada. And today we're continuing our series. Oh, maybe I should flip the camera, because I think that's going to be backwards for you guys. Yeah, let's flip the camera, and is that better? A to Z with Janome? Yeah, dark gray, overcast, and Chilliwack. Oh, that's too bad. Well, hopefully we'll bring some sunshine with our A to Z with Janome. You know, every day in the sewing room, to me, is a good day. So today we're continuing... our look at A to Z with Janome, doing the letter O. Ooh, I like that, how it... Ooh. So our letter O, now we have a number of O feet. Specifically, this is Tanya's cute little drawing of the OM foot, 1/4 inch foot with a guide. Again, we have a number of O feet, so I'll talk about a couple of different options for you. O for options, so love it. And then my... little sample here. So we've got the OM Clearview 1/4 inch foot and the OV Clearview foot and guide set, which I'm going to talk about. And again, my lovely Tamara Kate O for orchids. So it's very cute. I'm very excited to see as I'm doing these little samples with this Tamara Kate alphabet fabric that, you know, it's growing and it's growing. Soon I'm going to need to start putting it together. So let me slide this over here. Let me maybe adjust that. There we go. Okay, fantastic. So, yes, so we have a number. Janome has a number of 1/4 inch feet. Typically, I always call them 1/4 inch piecing feet, but you could use them 1/4 inch for like top stitching, for example, or 1/4 inch seaming. It doesn't have to be piecing a quilt necessarily. So this is the 1/4 inch foot. Now, many of us that have a 9mm machine, then we have this foot included in our machine. I believe all of the time, or most of the time. If you have a 7mm or 5mm foot, you will have a similar 1/4 inch foot. This is the O foot. It's a 1/4 inch, and it will have a guide. there to help you guide your fabric. So you can move your needle over or select like the 1/4 inch stitch, and that will give you a 1/4 inch from that guide, so it's nice and accurate. Now, your 1/4 inch foot is very useful in that up here, I hope you can see that guide there. There's a little notch. So this is up where my needle is. So there's a notch up there. And then if I am seaming along, piecing along, sewing along, and then I get to this notch right here. So this could be the end of my fabric. So then I know my needle is going to be a 1/4 inch away from the edge of the fabric. So then I could stop and pivot if I needed to. Or if I'm doing an inset seam, a Y seam, I would stop with my needle a 1/4 inch from the edge of the fabric. So it's very helpful to have these markings. There's also a marking way up here that, again, if this were my needle, this is a marking a 1/4 inch up from my needle. So if I wanted to start sewing a 1/4 inch from the edge of my fabric, I just line the edge of my fabric up with that notch, and then my needle would be a 1/4 inch from there, so I could start sewing. So they're very useful feet. So this is our standard O foot with day guide. But, you know, many sewers said, well, oh, I like that guide sometimes, but sometimes it just gets in the way. If you think of if you're piecing like a mariner's compass quilt, for example, mariner's compass block and all those triangles are coming together in the middle, that flange can get in the way sometimes. So sewers were telling us, you know, like, oh, I just have to lift up that flange to get all the layers of my fabric underneath. Well, maybe that's going to, you know, bend your flange and all that too much. So Janome said, oh, fine, that's too much trouble. We'll just give you an O foot. It just doesn't have a guide. So it's the same great 1/4 inch foot with the same markings as the other foot. It just has no guide. So that's an option as well. Now, this O foot comes in a separate blister pack as well if your machine did not come with one. Today I'm using the Continental M7, and this both of these O feet came in my Continental M7. But if you have like a first generation Memorycraft 15,000, for example, then you wouldn't have had this O foot without the guide, but you could get it in a separate blister pack, or if you bought the accessories kit with the various feet, then that would have come included in that. So that's the O without a guide. But then there are these two feet that I really wanted to focus on, again, available from your Janome dealer. Hello, Sylvia, 1545. Hello. So available from your dealer. Then this is the 9mm Clearview 1/4 inch seam foot. And this you will use with your, you could use it with your straight stitch needle plate. You don't have to, but it's for the center needle position. Now this foot is only available for the 9mm machine. So again, if you've got a S9, 9400, 9450, 8200, 8900, 15,000, you know, there's a whole list. Continental M7, you can get this Clearview 1/4 inch seam foot for 9mm machines. As always, instructions on the back of the blister pack. And what that Clearview foot, because a lot of people really like, whoops, to have, again, it's clear, so you can see right through it. So that makes, you know, accuracy very important. It's got this beautiful long guide. So that's great. So you can butt up your fabric right next to it. And again, your needle is a 1/4 inch from that guide. So you can see by the hole here in the foot that that is just for center needle position only. So I can select on my machine. I'll just go over here. You see that I have my center needle position, which on the Continental M7 is 4.5. So I will use this center needle position. And then when I snap on my foot, then I know when I butt up my fabric right next to it, right next to that guide, that beautiful long guide, that it's exactly a 1/4 inch away. So I can just easily flash these through one after another. I've got the auto pivot feature selected on my machine, which a number of our machines have. If you were with me on Tuesday at Janome Canada's Instagram Live at 1 1 p.m. Eastern, I talked about the auto pivot feature, so you can go back to the Janome Life YouTube channel to watch that video, or you can go to the Janome Canada Instagram page and you can review the IGTV icon, and then that little presentation is there. So there, perfectly a 1/4 of an inch away. Now I don't have to use this 1/4 inch Clearview foot just for piecing. Again, if I were to do top stitching on a garment, for example, top stitching on my collar, then I could do it exactly. If this were my seam, then I could, seam it exactly a 1/4 of an inch away, and I could use that guide to do perfectly even top stitching, or if this were along the top edge of a tote bag, for example. So you can use the guide to make perfectly accurate 1/4 of an inch top stitching as well. Now, the foot as well is very beneficial. You can see there's a lot of cool markings. These are all 1/8 of an inch markings. So here is there's my needle position. So there's a big marking there, a big red mark. And then a 1/4 of an inch away, there's a big long line there. So again, if I need to stop with my needle in the fabric, and I need to stop a 1/4 of an inch away from the edge of my fabric in order to pivot, or in order to end my seam, then I've got that line right there across the foot, so I can line up the edge of my fabric. And the same on the other side. Here's my needle, and then I've got a 1/4 of an inch mark up here, so then I know I can position the edge of my fabric. If I needed to start stitching a 1/4 of an inch away, I position the edge of my fabric up against that little red notch on the foot, and then I know I can start stitching a 1/4 of an inch in from there. Now, if I really wanted to do some narrow, like edge stitching, is about 1/8 of an inch away. So I can position my edge of my fabric up against any of these eighth of an inch marks, or again, these are all 1/8 of an inch marks up the side of the foot as well. So they can really help you guide your fabric depending on what your application is. And because it's clear, then you can really see. So that is the OM foot. And again, it's an optional accessory for 9mm machines only, available from your Janome dealer. Now, here in Ontario, things are really starting to open up. So double check with your dealer. As far as I know, many of the stores are offering that you can book an appointment. You can call and they reserve a time. You get about, half an hour to shop or so. Again, double check with your store, double check with your dealer on what they are doing. That you can come in and shop and order these feet and maybe get some fabric if your dealer carries fabric. So yes, that's a good thing too. Now with that Clearview foot, I just wanted to mention again, with the center needle position, you could use your straight stitch needle plate with that foot as well. Now, just as a review, the straight stitch needle plate has the center hole right there, and then it's got 2 other holes on either side. The regular universal needle plate just has 1 big hole that's down here. And the HP needle plate, if your machine is compatible with the HP needle plate you may already have, or again is available separately for specific machines that are HP compatible, that has a single hole, but it's off to the left-hand side. So you can go back to review. I did a whole presentation, Instagram live presentation, on the HP needle plate and HP feet on the Janome Canada Instagram live. So you can again go back to review that on the Janome Life YouTube channel. So you can check out all about HP needle plate and the difference between that, and the straight stitch needle plate. Which way am I going? There. Straight stitch needle plate. Will I be doing any lives on embroidery machines? Now, currently for this series, I've been doing A to Z with Janome, so I've been focusing on the various presser feet and accessories that either come with the machine or are available separately from the dealers. But, the last episode of this A to Z series, I'm going to do a recap on July 10th. So that's coming up, just in about, again, another month or so, another 4 weeks. So then what I'm going to be doing after that, I haven't fully decided yet. Tanya, our Parts and Notions coordinator, and I have been deciding, what are we going to do? So, yes, then quite possibly we need to do a few then on embroidery machines and all the little tips and tricks and maybe some of the optional accessories you can get for your embroidery machines, little tips, yes, on how to, hoop your fabric and all that. So I think that is a great idea. So stay tuned to Janome HQ for the announcements when we fully decide what to do. But I think that's a great idea. Now, my Clearview Foot is marked OV. Well, that's a perfect segue, because another foot I wanted to talk about, now this is available in 9 millimeters, but it's also available in 7 millimeters and for the 5 millimeter machines as well. So again, double check with your Janome dealer. But yes, the Clearview quilting foot and guide set. There's 3 different ways you can use this foot. And again, instructions are all in the back of the blister pack. So again, this Clearview quilting foot and guide set is available for all sizes of machine, 9 millimeter, 7 millimeter, and 5 millimeter. So that is the Clearview OV foot. Now the OV, maybe I'll put it down here. The OV foot is cute because it's got these 2 guides. It's a Clearview foot, so again, you can see right through it. It's also marked with the same kind of markings as the OM foot, in that, again, if here is your needle and it's marked up here in that red guide, but then there's a 1/4 of an inch guide, red marking. So again, you stop your needle 1/4 of an inch away from the edge of your fabric. It's also marked with 1/8 of an inch markings across the toe of the foot. And again, more markings, 1/8 of an inch up the side, and then like another 1/4 of an inch marking from at the back of the foot if you want to start your stitching 1/4 of an inch in from the edge of your fabric. Now, the secret of this OV foot, though, again, it's got these 2 guides. So I can adjust this little screw here, and I'll just take off, I'll take off both guides then. So I have 2 different guides. You may wonder, what in the world are these all about? When I did a Janome event, I think it was in Paducah, Kentucky. I can't remember where it was. Janome sent us this whole big bag, and it was all these little parts and pieces. And we thought, oh no, what goes with which? But it's really quite easy to figure it out when you look at them. And then again, on the back of the blister pack, it explains all of these. This is the 1/4 of an inch guide, so I can slip that on and then tighten that screw. So then here I can line up my fabric using the, this is where I can use the 1/4 of an inch piecing stitch that I like to use. So here I'm in my quilting selection, and then I just selected the 1/4 inch piecing stitch. So that moved my line of stitching here, 9.0 over to the right. So then, sorry for the shaky camera. And I'm going to snap that on. So then, yes, and that keeps my stitching 1/4 of an inch from that guide. So I can butt up my fabric against the guide there and stitch along. And again, if I want to stop stitching 1/4 of an inch from the edge of my fabric, I can then see right when the edge of my fabric gets along, there's that big red line at the tip of my foot there. So then I can see, okay, that's where I'll stop, and I can either then pivot using the auto pivot function in the machine, if yours is capable of doing that, or certainly raise the presser foot. Or if this were going to be like an inset seam, for example, a Y seam, I would just do like a lock stitch right there, and I know it's 1/4 of an inch from the edge of the fabric. So that's very handy. But then the other part of this secret to this foot, the OV foot, is I'll just unscrew that little screw there and take off that one guide. and then I'll put on the second guide. So this is really like a 3-in-1 foot. So I'll slip on that guide and tighten it up. So now I've got a ditch quilting foot. It's a little black guide, a little rudder, as I often call it. It reminds me of a boat. A little rudder down the middle of the foot there. So when I snap this back into place, that after I do if this were my sample here, and I've done my 1/4 inch regular seam, my 1/4 of an inch, fold back my fabric. Here already there's a line of ditch quilting. I did it in contrast, so you could see if I used it in matching thread, you wouldn't even see it. But, you know, sometimes maybe you want to show off some beautiful thread. I often use, in fact, I almost always use the iris quilting or the iris embroidery thread available from your Janome dealer, or also Janome carries Madeira thread. So various cotton threads and embroidery threads. They've got great metallic threads. So again, you can check with your Janome dealer about getting some really beautiful thread that maybe you want to show off. So you'll use contrasting thread when you go to do your stitch in the ditch. So then I want to have, actually I will sew this way. I want to go back to center needle position, and then I'm going to ride that little guide, that little black rudder, right down the well of my seam. And again, if I used matching thread, you wouldn't even really see it. But it's very easy to do, so it's a great 2-in-1 foot. You know, Janome has a separate stitch in the ditch foot that's called the S foot. And then there, again, you really see it in red. Janome has a stitch in the ditch foot called the S foot, which is perfectly lovely as well. But again, with your OV foot, you've got that stitch in the ditch option using that groove. Would the OV foot fit the dual feed foot? No, it does not, Sandra. But if I can find it quickly in my little drawer, there is a separate SD. I'm just getting it now. There is a separate SD foot. This is for your AccuFeed dual twin holder, the big wide one. This SD foot works on your AccuFeed Flex foot, because again, there's that black rudder down in the middle. So this is the SD foot for your AccuFeed stitch in the ditch. So that works well. Yes, okay, so then another way to use this foot, again, I'm just going to unscrew that. I'm going to take off the guide. Yes, me too. I love that SD foot. It is wonderful that using the AccuFeed Flex and stitching in the ditch at the same time. Great if you're quilting through lots of layers. So because here, I'll just take this off to show you one more time. So now I can use this foot without any of the guides. Again, if you're one of these people that really like the 1/4 inch without the guide, then great. You don't have to use those guides. You would just use your 1/4 inch stitch, or again, move your needle over. There's a line right there to indicate a 1/4 of an inch from the edge of your foot. Or again, these are all 1/8 of an inch markings. So if I wanted to stitch an 1/8 of an inch away through either center needle position, or when my needle's at the 1/4 inch, I just line up whatever applicable groove. Now for this foot, I would not want to use my, if I was going to stick to straight center needle position, that yes, I would use my straight stitch needle plate. But if I wanted the ability to jump back and forth between my 1/4 of an inch stitch and my center needle position, and again jump back and forth between the two, then this is where I would leave on my universal zigzag plate, so I could easily move my needle back and forth. But yes, when I would want to use that 1/8 of an inch away, I could line up, in this case I did my seam, and then if I want to line up an 1/8 of an inch away, So I've got my seam lined up with the 1/8 of an inch that's over here to the left. So then I could do my line of, again, edge stitching if this were on a garment, or again a tote bag or like a zippered pouch, and it gives me whatever kind of guide, or on your quilt, whatever, it gives me a perfect 1/8 of an inch guide away. Or a good time to use it too. You know, this straight stitch applique has really received quite a resurgence. I have to think this is great for like the wool applique. It doesn't always have to be like the traditional kind of zigzaggy buttonhole blanket stitch applique. It could just be a regular straight stitch. So by having that guide, then I've lined up the right side here of my or I'm using the right side of the guide of my foot. I've lined up my fabric with that little 1/8 of an inch guide that's on the foot. So now I know I can stitch my applique perfectly along, and I know not having the guide there, nothing is going to get in the way. And then I know exactly when I can stop and pivot my fabric, because I can see, like, boom, that's exactly right on that line. So then I know I can pivot my fabric, and I'm going to be exactly an 1/8 of an inch away. So it's, oh, sorry, I forgot the iPad is on the table, so I can't sew too fast without it jiggling. You know, the Continental M7 stitches 1,300 stitches a minute, so I love it. But yes, I'll sew a little faster, or slower. So then as soon as I know, yes, my foot is right up against that guide, I can easily pivot. So that's a great time to use this OV Clearview Foot without either of the guides. So you can stitch 1/8 of an inch away very quickly and easy. So perfect to do on your applique, as I'm almost there. So yes, again, you can see there's lots of versatility in your Janome feet. Whoops. Lovely. So again, beautiful 1/8 of an inch away very easily. And because it's a clear view foot, I can see right through it. And because it's got all those wonderful red markings an 1/8 of an inch away, then I can line up whatever guide I need to. So it's very accurate. So again, today's Janome HQ Instagram Live was brought to you by the letter O for our variety of O feet. Again, either the regular O foot with the guide, or then there's the O foot without the guide. Now, again, for 9mm machines, there was then the OM foot with the nice long guide at the side. Or then for the 9, 7, and 5mm machines, there is the Clearview quilting foot and guide set, which is the OV set. Yeah, so many O feet. Absolutely, Sandra. You know, the one thing I love about Janome is there are so many options. Janome really is about whatever works great for you. So again, use whichever foot you want to use, whatever works great for you. And you know, I love having all the feet because I use them interchangeably. Sometimes I use the you know, regular 1/4 inch foot that comes with the machine, or I love, again, the flexibility of this OV foot is really like 3 feet in one. So it's, Janome's all about choices. So I wanted to point out as well, you know, as I have been showing you a couple of times, if you're a 15,000, for example, a 15,000 quilt maker owner, you already received this beautiful black accessory case, but this black accessory case for the 9mm feet is also available separately, and it has 3 plastic trays in it for the various presser feet and accessories. If you're a 15,000 owner, your tray already comes with, you know, all these feet. If you order this case separately, you do not get all these feet, sorry to say, but you can put all your 9mm feet in them, which is great. This case is also available in like this very soft, like robin's egg blue that matches the Skyline series, for example. So that's an optional accessory available. And again, these are a number of the feet that will accommodate in this tray. And then down on this side, though, these are always blank. So as we've been going through the alphabet, for example, I've talked about the AP. There's the applique foot. That's an optional presser foot, but then it fits in that slot. And then this is the H, the three-way cording foot is another optional foot that will fit in that slot. The I, piping foot. All of these past Janome HQ Instagram lives you can review on the Janome HQ YouTube channel, as well as the Janome HQ IGTV icon on our Instagram page. There's the L2 was the wide beading foot. And then here, OV. So this is our Clearview quarter-inch foot and guide. That OV, so that fills that slot there. This was the FB border guide foot. That fits that slot there. So you'll see we only have one more slot here, the U foot, which I will talk about coming up, future Janome HQ Instagram Live. So then soon we will have all of these slots filled in. Oh, and then look, Sandra, there's a slot there for the stitch in the ditch foot as well, the SD. So there's a slot there. So yes, way behind in machines. I just, 6,500. Oh my gosh, that is not way behind at all. You know, even though that's been on the market a number of years, but it's been actually one of the most popular, most successful machines ever. Those people that have it absolutely love it. The tray identifies foot location. Yes, Sandra, yes, there's little markings. It'll probably be hard to see, but yeah, it'll say like this is the SD foot, or again, this is like the FB border guide foot, and the U foot, again, that's going to be coming up on Janome HQ Instagram Live. So then, yes, then it tells you where to put all of these feet. And there's a couple of extra slots here that I just have, like a case of needles, for example, fits in there, and some of the accessories. So it's a great accessory tray, a great accessory case to have, even if you don't have a 15,000, but these are all for 9mm feet. So any of the 9mm machines, again, like 8200, 8900, Skyline S9, again, I think came with the light blue version of that, but yeah, so they're all available. Now, I also wanted to point out as well, you can find more information about both the Clearview OM foot and the Clearview OV foot on our Janome bulletins. Let's see, on Wednesdays, Instagram Live, I showed you how to go to the Janome global site, and there's the downloads tab that you click downloads, and then you find the Janome bulletin tab. And so here is more about the OM foot, and then here is about the Clearview foot and guide set, and they give you all the information about, you know, how to adjust your needle and about the different guides and everything. So make sure you go to the Janome global site and look for the bulletins tab to then print off these bulletins, because they're a great resource of information for more things Janome. So thank you all very much for joining me. I will spin this. Oh, thank you. I absolutely love sharing this information with you all. I'm going to spin this around. Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you all for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I will see you all back here on Monday at Janome HQ. And let's see, P, we're going to be doing the P feet, specifically the PDH, the darning foot. And there's a closed toe version and an open toe version. Again, Janome's always giving you options. The darning feet come with a number of our Janome machines. So when people say, oh, you always focus on those fancy machines, the darning foot comes with a lot of them, a lot of machines, not just the fancy ones. So I will give you all some heads up about how to use those feet. So thank you all for joining me. Again, have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you back here on Monday. Bye.